Hello, my name is Crowbar, otherwise known as the Blackwing Guru on the Guild of Gurus Discord. And my aim with this video is to give you a breakdown of the Blackwing deck, the most commonly ran cards, why they're ran, what cards you can tech in, what skills you have available to the deck, everything like that. At the end, I'll be showing a more kind of standardized deck, one that you can find anywhere basically, and one free-to-play version of the deck. I hope you will all enjoy it, and is this my first video of this kind? If you have any criticisms or things that you'd like me to add or remove in future videos like this, please let me know. So to start off this guide, we're going to be talking about the most commonly used cards, and as such I have the core non-tuners of the deck here, Zephyros the Elite, Aura the Spear, and Chris the Crack of Dawn. These three cards are all level 4 non-tuners, as mentioned, which allows you to combine them with your level 3 tuners in order to go into the most commonly used synchro type of the deck, which is level 7 synchros, as well as allowing you to go into the rank 4 lineup of XCs. Both Bora and Chris have the ability to special summon themselves from the hand if you control another Blackwing monster, while Zephyros has the ability to special summon himself from the graveyard by returning one card you control to the hand. The last non-tuner we'll be talking about is Moon the Poison Wind. Moon allows you to banish a Blackwing monster from your hand in order to put a black whirlwind on the field from your deck, and then he can normal summon himself without tribute. By normal summoning himself via effect, that means you don't use up your normal summon for the turn. He does have the unfortunate downside of locking you into dark-type monsters for the rest of the turn, but he has such a strong starting effect for Blackwings that you're basically forced to run him. He is so powerful and such an asset to the deck that if you're not running him, you're just losing out. Most people run him at 3. I've seen some builds run it at 2. I don't think that's right, just because he's the only way that you're really extending past disruption. Next up, we have our two tuners of the deck, Gale the Whirlwind and Roshi the Squall. Both of them have the great effect in order to special summon themselves from the hand. You control another Blackwing monster, and they tend to have more useful effects than the non-tuners besides the Moon. Gale has the effect to permanently have a monster's tap, while the Roshi has the effect that when it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can change the battle position of one monster on the field. Next up we have Black Whirlwind, which is the way Blackwings generate advantage. And this card isn't once per turn or once per duel or anything like that. If you have 3 of them on the field, every time you normal summon a monster, you'll get 3 searches off. Next up, we have our 3 most commonly used level 7 Blackwing synchros. First up, we have Chidori, the Rain Sprinkling. He's basically the big beater of the deck. He usually sits around anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 attack. He's just really good to have on the field, especially if you're going for the OTK. Next up, we have Obsidian Hawk Joe. He allows you to target a level 5 or higher winged beast in your graveyard in order to special summon it. Usually that's going to be, one of your Blackwing synchros, or you could summon to Moon for whatever reason. Finally, we have Raikiri the Rain Shower. Raikiri is the basically boss monster of the deck. He's who you're almost always going to be bringing out when you synchro summon. He is just so good. He allows you to pop 2 cards on the field, and it's not a hard once per turn, so if you manage to pop him with something and then revive him off Joe, you could use his effect again. As his limit 2 interferes with the limit 2 with Orochi, who you really need to run, you could only run one of each of them, unfortunately. But he is still a fantastic boss in every way. Up next, we'll be talking about a few in-archetype tech cards that you can potentially use in the deck, though they aren't by any means required, and they aren't always RAM for varying reasons. First up, we have Stain with the Cloak. He's a level 3 tuner. He does not have the ability to special summon himself from the hand, but what he does have is when he's sent to the graveyard, he generates a level 1 token on your side of the field, which you can then use for either a synchro summon or you can use for his second ability, which is to tribute a monster on your side of the field in order to revive himself from the graveyard. Keep in mind this is a once per duel limitation, but then once you send him to the graveyard again, he still can make another token. He is a good monster and he saw play in the past, but the tokens tend to clog up your board more than help it, and just not being able to special summon himself just leads to breaky hands. Next up is Hermata in the Dust. He's one of my personal favorites of the ones that aren't generally ran in most builds. I'm sure any Blackwing player who's played the deck before has ran into the problem of getting both a Gale the Whirlwind and a Black Whirlwind, as well as some random, spell cards in hand, and they can't do anything with it. Well, with Hermata in the Dust, when you normal summon the Gale with the Whirlwind on board, he allows you to search the dust. Also, Steam Cloak can search the Hermata in the Dust if you have the performance skill, but we'll be getting into that in just a second. And when he special summons himself, you can target a card on the field, and it gains levels equal to that card's target. So by targeting a Gale the Whirlwind, it becomes a level 5, which allows you to access the level 8 lineup of monsters. And unlike Moon, that allows you to access the non-dark level 8s as well as the dark ones, and there's some really good generic level 8s. Dark End Dragon is probably one of the best ones, but you also have Cyber/Harpy Lady, I always forget how to say your name, the level 8 Harpy Synchro, and that's generic for whatever reason, so you can technically run that in your deck, but generally you'll run something like Dark End Dragon, so if you do use Moon, you can still summon it, and that allows you to also get something like Bloom Diva off the field because it can't be destroyed by card effects, and Dark End Dragon will send by card effect. Finally, we have Jin the Rain Shadow. I was debating whether to include this or not. It never sees play anymore, but it used to see play on account that it's a level 1 tuner which could be used alongside Orochi. I don't think it's good, it just doesn't have a good effect. And it can't be special summoned, so you're using up your normal summon on this, and on this. And I just don't think it's good. I figured it would be good to just bring up, just, for clarity, and also to pay homage to the older competitive decks that used to run this. So onto the N-type synchros that we decided generally not to run. We have Sohaya the Rainstorm, which is kind of like Joe, but it's limited to Blackwing for monsters, specifically Assault Blackwings, which are the kind of second generation of Blackwing cards, such as Raikiri and whatnot. I don't know all saw Blackwings, but you know, he's okay. He has, you know, a revival effect. And then we also have Ram the Star in the same build, being a level 5 synchro. And when it's summoned, it lets you summon a non-tuner from your hand, which is kind of pointless because we don't run any non-tuners that can't already be special summoned. If it could summon tuners from the hand, it might actually, you know, be useful to some extent, but they have to restrict it for some reason, so we don't play it. So I'm sure many of you have seen Onimaru run in a bunch of decks, such as TG or Infernity, or I think even some variants of Piranu you run it. I'm not 100% sure on that. That's because it is an amazing boss monster. It can't be destroyed by effects. To run it over, it would require a lot of work, because when it's summoned only using synchro monsters, it gains the effect that it gains 3,000 extra attack when it's being attacked or it is attacking, which makes for some really easy LTKs. If you're running anything like lower than 2100 and this attacks into it, you're just lose. Which, fantastic effect, but the problem is Blackwings struggle to get into this guy just between getting a level 5 on board alongside a level 7. You have to commit so many resources, and it's difficult to get all those resources on board sometimes. It's generally just, it's not worth it at that point, especially, you know, when it can be flipped by Bokeh Moon or, you know, whatever. So, you know, it's still a fantastic card. It's just not a card that Blackwings are really going to run. There's only 2 real skills that Blackwings are going to consider running. And I say 2 because there's a popular variant to Blackwings, but most builds are going to be running this card, Mountain. Which seems weird. Why do you want a 200 attack boost on an LTK archetype? Like, they should be able to get it without it, right? Well, with this card, it allows you to search out more cards with the with Black Whirlwind. By raising your attack by 200, it allows you to search out any card like with the same attack. Even if it's the same monster, it doesn't have that kind of restriction. So if you boost up a Bora to 1900 by using this, and then you normal summon it, you can grab another Bora if you want, or you can grab a whirlwind, or, you know, just whatever. It's a really great skill. So the second skill is level reduction. Basically, you use this in order to make special summoning Onimaru easier, and it also allows you to use Crow, so you have that thematic. I'm not a huge fan of the skill, but there's a very dedicated portion of the Blackwing player base that absolutely loves this skill to death, and I can't blame them. It's, you know, fun to use this every once in a while. So next up are some of the tech cards that you'll probably be considering using when running the deck. First up are 2 back row destruction cards, Mystical Space Typhoon and Cosmic Cyclone. Most versions of the deck are going to be running MST, just because it doesn't cost anything. It's, you know, 1-for-1 destruction. But if you are running the level reduction variant, you're going to want Cosmic Cyclone, because that will make your skill alive. So next up, we're going to be talking about Bokeh Moon. Bokeh Moon is ran a lot in newer versions of Blackwings, just because having any kind of disruption really helps with going first, and even going second. You know, you can flip down a Cyber/Harpy Lady, or flip down a Bloom Diva so you can blow it up with Raikiri. It's just a really good, really versatile card, and if you can throw it in at 3, it's generally going to be really helpful. Next up we have our extra deck. Evil Swarm Nightmare is the most recent kind of addition to the deck that has really revitalized the deck. It costs 2 level 4 dark monsters, and it basically gives you a double Bokeh Moon on your opponent's turn on special summoned monsters, which just leads to so much disruption. It forces them to deal with it before going into their combos, or they're just basically not going to be able to do their combos. Everything they're using is getting flipped over. We also have Dark End Dragon, which I talked about earlier, as well as Cyber/Harpy Lady, who I did not put down here. Those are your level 8 that you can generically kind of go into. They're both really good at just disrupting the opponent. Cyber/Harpy Lady is generally better, but due to the restriction on Simoon, you can't really go into her as often as you'd like. But Dark End Dragon is really good. I talked about that when I was talking about Hermata, so I'm not going to really get too far into them. So we have Ancient Pixie Dragon up next. You aren't going to be using either this one or Ancient Fairy Dragon if you're using the level reduction variant. But if you aren't using that variant, they're generally really highly suggested. Ancient Pixie Dragon, especially because she's a level 7 monster, that when summoned just allows you to up a monster on the field, which is, surprise surprise, really useful. So with the introduction of the Evil Swarm Nightmares, Ancient Fairy Dragon doesn't see as much play, but I still think it's an incredibly valid tech option, especially depending on the meta. What she does is she allows you to send your field spell to the graveyard in order to search out another field spell from your deck. Any field spell, at all, which is just incredibly useful. So the most common search is Necro Valley, which is just generically good against a lot of decks. It prevents cards from leaving the graveyard for any reason. Unfortunately, it doesn't, affect any effects in the graveyard unless going up against a really specific deck that you can just type your attributes in the graveyard, which I guess if you're up against Element Saber, that has some effect on them. But we also have 2 other field spells that might be good when running. You have Summon Breaker, which is a bit of a double-edged sword. It allows you to basically stop your opponent's turn halfway through. But since Blackwing's special summon a lot, unless you can get this off the board on your turn, which, if you have Ancient Fairy Dragon still up, you can do that using her effect. But if you don't, then you're basically screwing yourself over. It's still a really good card though. And you also have Extranet, which just allows you to draw cards for your opponent basically doing what their deck is going to do anyways. This is a little more risky because it's not actually stopping any of your opponent's plays, so they're still gonna OTK you probably unless you have a Bokeh Moon set or something like that. So it's kind of a toss-up. I still do think Ancient Fairy Dragon is a really valid tech choice for the deck. So as you can see here, this pretty much your generic run-of-the-mill deck. Any Blackwing player is generally going to be running a similar version of this, but as promised, I do have a free-to-play deck. This free-to-play deck might look a little strange, and that's because I wanted it to be free-to-play, but at the same time Blackwings are really expensive, so how I quantified free-to-play here is you did one run through each of the main Blackwing boxes in order to get these, as well as using cards that are available at the card trader. Obviously this version isn't competitive, you can switch some stuff out, but basically You have stuff like spiritualism, which is free-to-play back row removal. Obviously, once you get something like MST, switch this out for that. But I want to thank my friend, the Cubic Guru, for putting me onto this card, Cattle Claw. What this does is, for free-to-play players, it allows you to go into Onimaru a lot easier. You basically tribute a Blackwing, and then you can summon any of these Blackwing synchro monsters. Well, not Dark End Dragon, but any of these guys. And by doing that, that allows you to go into one of your other synchro monsters. So say you have Orochi, Bora, and Gale in hand. I don't know. That's a bad thing. Anyway, so basically it allows you to use Cattle Call. If you have a Gale plus a Chris in hand, you use a Gale plus Chris, go into one of your level 7 Blackwings, use a different Blackwing monster in order to bring out a level 5 Blackwing, tune both of those into Onimaru the Divine Thunder, and you have a variety of ways to kind of get cards out. By using Rafter Windstrike, that lets you, as it says, shuffle a Blackwing you control into the main deck, and if you search out Breeze the Zephyr, it allows you to just special summon it straight from your deck, because you're not straight from your deck, it gets added to your hand, and then you can special summon it from there, which is just really good. Fantastic card, honestly. And then, yeah, it's basically Onimaru Turbo. It's not super competitive, but I think it's the absolute best variant for free-to-play players. Obviously, there's changes you can make, like to make it more competitive as you get more cards and fill in more slots, but overall, if you're just, you don't want to invest too much in Blackwings because they're an incredibly expensive deck, this is a great way to start out and start into the deck. So thank you all for watching this video, coming and hanging out or whatever. It's my first kind of video in this style. I would love to hear your feedback if you want it more scripted with, like maybe a little more effort put into the editing, putting cards up on screen, like something like Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Or DZ would do, stuff like that. If you just want it more casual, laid back, kind of like this one, I would love to hear your opinions, like what you think I should do with these future videos, because this is really kind of my first attempt at this kind of video-based breakdown. Besides that, if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want to join the community I'm part of that kind of helps go over non-meta decks and basically shows off the best version of non-meta decks, or helps build fun versions of non-meta decks, I will leave a link to the Discord Guild of Gurus in the description below, or one of the comments, whatever I decide to do. And thank you so much for coming to this video. If you want more in the future, I'm thinking of maybe doing a Yang Zing video, maybe a Destiny Hero video, Evil Hero, just some type of video. And again, thank you so much.